So to start, let's turn our attention to our experience just as it is, sort of welcome your experience as it is. No need to fix anything or improve anything, just for now, just for the duration of this meeting. Invite your body, like turn your attention to your body, and sort of if you notice any contractions, any tightness, invite those contractions to rest, to relax, as if like you're at the beach lying on a towel. Letting everything be. So that the mind can come to rest like a puppy, come to rest at your feet. And simply be. So being is what we all share, and it's not something that we do. It's what we are. We are this being, this effortless being. That is not trying to be better or to be wiser. Or being is what we are. So in welcoming yourself as being, you're welcoming the being that we all are, sort of a universal being. In love, we are not two. There isn't a me and a you when we are together in truth. As presence, we don't need to improve presence. Presence is not trying to improve itself. And everything we experience This moment, this experience right now is presence itself, right there. One could say it's this formless presence that's taken on the form of hearing, or taken on the form of the breath, taken on the form of a thought or an image. Because before a thought arises, you are there as presence. And as if thought arises, you are still there as presence. And as the thought dissolves, you're still there as presence. And this presence has no name, no age, no gender. From the perspective of that which appears, it seems that there is no such thing as presence. But when you turn your attention as if you're turning your attention before anything appears, when you contemplate just the I am, the experience of I am, not the thought of I am or belief, just the experience of being, you will find that undoubtedly and absolutely, yes, I am, yes, amness is, meaning presence is. And then a thought may arise, oh, wow, that's cool. That thought also arises within that same amness, that same presence. So from the perspective of the mind, from the perspective of thought, presence is overlooked, which is not a problem. But in this moment, you can recognize the transparency of presence, the transparency of being, the reality of being. It's beingness itself that knows itself, knows it is. I know I am. I know I am is that amness itself, the I-ness itself, that is speaking, that recognizes itself. It is not the body that's recognizing itself, or a thought that is recognizing itself. It is awareness, presence, that recognizes itself. And when you turn your attention to your experience as presence in this moment, you don't find presence to be contained in any container. You don't find a limitation to presence. To awareness. Consciousness is not two, it is one. Although consciousness takes on the form of the ocean, of the sunshine, of a tree, of a thought, of a sensation, infinite forms, it remains as one. One reality, one truth, one borderless, transparent presence. So as presence, you're never alone. Because as presence, as consciousness, as awareness, there's only one totality, one wholeness, one reality. The thought that appears to you does not know you. The thought that appears to you that says, what's going to happen to you, does not know you. It doesn't know anything about you. You are the knowingness. You are that which knows, which perceives the thought. You as awareness, as consciousness, are the reality of the thought. The feeling, the sensation that appears to you that says, I'm so alone, I'm so incomplete, lacking. That very sensation that's interpreted as I am incomplete, I am lacking, doesn't know anything about you, doesn't know anything about you. The stories, the images that appear to you, that speak about you, they don't know anything about you. The memories that appear to you about your youth, all the trauma that happened to you, the thoughts that appear to you about doomsday tomorrow, these thoughts, they don't know anything about you. Because you are that which does not appear, you are that which perceives the thought, which perceives the sensation, which you are the reality of that which appears. Like in your night dream. In your night dream, you may experience all sorts of events that are seemingly happening to you. But nothing is happening to you. You realize that upon the understanding that you are the dreamer of those dreams. But in the absence of this understanding, it feels, it seems so real. In the absence of the understanding of the transparency in non-phenomenal reality of consciousness, you experience yourself as in danger or in trouble or in the grip of all sorts of events. It feels so real. And it triggers all sorts of mechanism within us to survive, to find a solution. In overlooking our true nature as that which is untouched by that which appears to us, in overlooking the reality of consciousness, which is the true meaning of I, the true I, we experience ourselves as a mortal form and a male or female or some form, an entity in time and space that's affected and impacted by its sense of limitation, sense of mortality, the sense of lack. And to survive as that illusory self, we create other illusory selves. We multiply. We multiply like a cancerous cell. Multiply to find security and to find some safety in relationships, in various situations. And so we struggle for peace and happiness in our mind, while the true happiness is our true nature. And so within the mental realm, we are looking for the salvation of the imaginary me, the imaginary self. Disappointment after disappointment, disappointment after disappointment. You are not an object in time and space. You are not that which you know as being born, as having a mother and a father, and you are not that which you experience yourself to be. Because that which you experience yourself to be appears to you. The images, the memories, the sensations, the father, the mother, the sister that appears to you. What is this you, the you that is not that which appears, that which appears, disappears. The peace of being does not lie, does not reside in that which appears and disappears. That's just a temporary sensation, a temporary experience. The peace of being lies in reality. Its reality has to be absolute, across time and space, independent of time and space. The I presence, I consciousness. That you've never not been. As that reality, we are all one. And in oneness, in wholeness, is the peace and the joy and the freedom, the love and the beauty. Okay, so do you have any questions, anything that you would like to explore? So please make sure you unmute your mic, and if you also would turn on your video, if you feel like it, we could also see each other.
Hello, Magdi.
Hello, George.
I don't know if you can say anything more about this because you've just said a lot about this, but I know that I am aware. I am the entity which perceives, for example, emotions. And even though I know this, I still suffer. For example, I feel like I need to protect this fictitious separate self. Let me give a specific example. Like I need to worry about events which will bring me future suffering. For example, if I do something wrong, I'm going to blame myself for those mistakes. So that I have to take actions now to avoid that. So even though this separate self doesn't exist, the emotions are real. And knowing that I'm awareness doesn't seem to be sufficient.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is there something else you can say about this?
Yes, yes. So any suffering, any emotion is on behalf of the wrong I. Now, action, responding to a certain situation, is what we all do. There is hunger, we cook a meal. There is tiredness, we explore the possibility of resting. We notice the fuel gauge is low on gas, we respond to that. We notice that our neighbor's dog is barking at 3 o'clock in the morning, we talk to the neighbor. So there are no emotions in responding to situations. Whenever there are emotions, then we are acting, we're perceiving and acting and feeling on behalf of a sense of something at stake for somebody. There is something at risk for somebody, which is completely different from stepping out from in front of a rushing car, or the car that's driving towards you, stepping back. That's there is no emotion in that. There is instinct and action and responding. Emotion, on the other hand, is always about some thoughts of me and belief about me in time and space. Now, when you say, I know I am consciousness, or I know that I am conscious, the I that you're referring to, that I that knows that it is conscious or it is consciousness, is the wrong I from how I'm hearing you speaking. The I that knows that it is consciousness itself. It's not George. George doesn't know anything. George is a very fascinating instrument, creature, form. It's a fascinating, very complex body-mind structure that is just an instrument. It's a robotic-like form that has no comprehension whatsoever. And no, it's not conscious. The body-mind, George, is not conscious. That which is conscious is consciousness. When you mistake the I that is conscious to be George, you are limiting consciousness to your personal mind, to what you imagine yourself to be, what you imagine consciousness to be. You actually have diminished consciousness. You've sort of reduced consciousness to some personal realm of experience.
Yes, I have done exactly that. When I said, I know that I am aware, there are two uses of the word I in there. And I guess I have reduced consciousness, awareness, to something personal. Mm-hmm. So I plead guilty to what you say. And you and other non-duality speakers have talked about this consciousness, this universal consciousness. But to me, it seems conceptual and remote. I can get that I'm aware. There's awareness here. There's amness here. That seems real to me. But this universal consciousness, I would love to have that sense of that, but I don't.
What is it that is aware? When you say, I know I am aware, what is it? When you say, I know that I'm aware, in that sentence, what is the I? When you say, I know that I am aware, what is that first, the I?
I'm looking at that. What is that first I?
Because you spoke these words. I heard.
No, I spoke these words. No, I spoke exactly those words, and I fully understand your question.
Yes.
Just give me a moment. What is that I? When I said, I know that I am aware, there are two uses of the word I in there.
Yes.
Now, the I that knows it, it seems to me that I is George. And the reason I say that is that's the only I know. You know what I mean? This other consciousness is something I can't quite get. You know what I'm saying?
So let's take a look at that.
Okay.
George knows that it is conscious. So we're going to replace the word I with George, because you said I is George. Yes? You're okay?
Yeah. Okay.
So George knows that it is aware. When you say George, what are you referring to? What is your experience of George? Because you say George, so therefore you must know George. Otherwise, you wouldn't even say the word George. Since you said George, my question to you is, can you explain to me what are you referring to?
Yes, I'm referring to that which has experiences. That which perceives experiences. So when I use the word George, there's some.
So it's not the body. It's not the
body. There are experiences here. There's hearing, there's seeing, there are those various perceptions. And by the word George, I mean this, I can't use the word source, but there's a sense of an ownership of those perceptions. So
George is the sense of ownership.
Okay, sense of ownership of perceptions, yes.
George is a sense of ownership. What is it that perceives or experiences this sense of ownership? Because a sense of ownership is something that you mentioned it, so therefore somehow your experience, there's something experiences it. You're not speaking out of thin air.
Right. Okay, yes, there's something that experiences that. And I don't know what label to put on that. I call that George, but I don't know what that is.
So, but already George is a sense of ownership. So if you call that which perceives a sense of ownership George, and what you're saying is that the sense of ownership is perceiving the sense of ownership. So you're saying a sense perceives a sense, a sensation perceives a sensation, and that's not logical.
No, I agree. That's not logical. I absolutely agree. Yes. I'm sort of baffled here. So let me look again. Your question is, what is it that knows
that? Let's step back a little bit. You said that I no, I am conscious, and this I is George. And I asked you, what is your experience of George? You said, well, my experience of George is this sense of ownership. So what you're saying is a sense of ownership perceives that it's conscious or knows that it's conscious. A sense of ownership cannot experience anything. A sensation does not know anything. A sensation is an object that arises within known, it's known.
Yes.
So you're sharing that George refers to a sense of ownership, which is fine, but does not justify the claim that the sense of ownership knows that it's conscious.
Yes, I get it. I don't know what else to say. I think, as you said, there's something rather than nothing. And
in terms of consciousness, George,
there's some kind of amness here. Okay, there's I don't know whether to call it a sense or a knowingness. You know, if you ask me, you know, are you aware? I would have to say, of course.
Yes. What is the you that is aware? And I'm on board with you that, yes, I'm aware. But I'm not on board with you when you say Magdi is aware. Because Magdi is something that I experience. I experience it as a sensation, as a memory, as a bunch of images, as this great guy or whatever. It's a bundle of thoughts and emotions and sensations and perceptions and memories. So I'm not on board with you when you say that Magdi is aware. There is only one candidate, one correct candidate, only one right candidate that is aware.
Yes, I get it. No, I see it now. The only entity that could be aware would have to be awareness itself.
You got it. Now, the only thing is entity. When you say entity, okay, fine, as a way of speaking, but let's say, yes, I understand. I'm being a little bit particular about the word entity here.
No, fine, yes, please be particular, because you're right.
So when you go to awareness, so yes, we're on board that the only candidate for awareness is awareness itself. The only thing that can bark is a dog. The only quotes unquote thing or that can be aware is awareness. Yes? Right. So I'm on board with that. Now, awareness, when you look at awareness, meaning when awareness looks at itself, it doesn't find a border. You cannot say that I'm aware because I'm in my office, or you cannot say I'm aware because the body is awake. You cannot say I'm aware because we are in December, right? So So when you contemplate awareness, you don't find that it's an entity. An entity has a beginning and an end. You know,
right.
An entity exists in time and space. So I'm just being particular about the word entity, the term entity that you use.
Yes. What's very strange is there's this conflict. I get you that yes, there's no entity here. And I understand that only awareness can know awareness. You've said that, and I get that. But it still seems that awareness is personal. I understand I'm being totally contradictory here, okay? I can't make the connection.
Yeah. When you take awareness and add on to it the limitations of your belief, when you say, okay, awareness is mine, or it's my awareness.
Right.
I mean, that's a jump. I mean, you know, because there is no evidence. There is no evidence that awareness belongs to you.
There's no evidence whatever, right?
Or that it's yours, or that it's contained in your brain. There is no evidence of that. That's not your experience, and there's no evidence for you to come to that conclusion.
Right, I agree totally.
But when you make that, when you go there, when you say, okay, it's my awareness. I've been feeling for the past 100 years that it's my awareness, and that awareness is mine, is me, is George. Then that's the end of the conversation. That's your freedom. I mean, that's, in a way, that's what you're choosing. Because if there is no evidence, then I would agree with you saying, well, okay, I don't know. I would be open to you saying, I don't know, rather than, you know, it feels personal limited. Because you're saying that it feels personal limited, you're just describing a feeling. And this feeling is arising within awareness, and you are aware of this feeling, and you're speaking it in your English language, you're speaking it. But the fact that you're aware of it does not mean that the fact that you're aware of the feeling that consciousness is limited does not mean that this feeling knows or speaking any truth about the awareness as perceiving it. I don't know if I.
No, you said that right, and that's absolutely right. You were right. I have no evidence that awareness is personal. And I understand what you're saying, that this feeling is just a feeling. And yes, I have no evidence that awareness is personal, but I also have no evidence. Well, no, I'm going to say I have no evidence that it's universal, but that's not true. I do have evidence that it's universal. I'm not making any sense here. Okay.
Well,
all right. So here's what's going on. I have evidence that awareness is universal, not proof. I have evidence. I think I've mentioned this to you before, but somehow it's like I'm stubborn and I don't want to believe this evidence, or I can't believe this evidence, or it seems so different from what I've believed all my life. Okay, it's like the person who swears that the earth is flat, and you show him you show him the moon, you show him the shadow of the earth on the moon, and you give him all this evidence that the earth is round, and he says, well, yes, I understand all this evidence, but the earth is flat. Okay? That's where I'm sort of at. Okay.
Yes, I understand, but you still have available to you the reality of consciousness, meaning that the reality of awareness, that's there.
Yes.
And you have available to you the complete absence of any limitation to awareness in your experience. I mean, I know it's not an evidence that awareness is universal, but when you look at awareness in your experience, you have available to you hopefully you have available to you the clarity that awareness in your experience is not starting anywhere or ending anywhere.
Absolutely, yes.
So you have that available to you moment by moment. You have that available to you.
Right.
And you also have available to you, let me say it, and maybe the words won't be completely correct, but let me try it. You have also available to you the experience of awareness not being a form, not being phenomenal.
Right.
And you have available to you the direct experience of awareness somehow in this moment taking on the form of hearing. or sensing your feet on the ground. It's awareness. It's right there. You cannot pull awareness out. You have available to you, moment by moment, awareness, knowing itself, meaning I know I'm aware, yes? Yes?
Yes, yes.
And also, you have available to you the direct experience of awareness taken on the form of inhalation, exhalation.
Yes.
And you have also available to you moment by moment, whenever, actually it arises, the direct experience of awareness taken on the form of the thought. A thought, today is Sunday. So it's not that you just have available to you all your past conditioning and all, you say years of belief. I understand that. But you also have available to you something fresh. The fresh meaning, in this moment, awareness is real as our experience, not like something we've heard, we've learned 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
Right. But that awareness, in other words, if you've asked me 10 years ago, are you aware? Of course I would say yes. And the reason I would say yes is, I know I'm aware because I can speak, because I can hear. So my evidence of awareness would have been, I have these experiences, therefore I must be aware.
Yes.
But the awareness that we're talking about here is not conditioned on having experience. It's before experience.
It's the same awareness, though. It's the same awareness. So yes, I am aware that I'm perceiving the screen or this table, or I'm hearing these words. Yes. And I'm also aware that I'm aware.
Right.
So, but it's not two different awarenesses. This is why I sometimes say that, okay, awareness knows itself in the absence of form, as well as in the presence of form. Another way of saying it is, awareness is absolute, is the reality of our experience, is the one reality. And this one reality takes on the form of hearing or perceiving or sensing without becoming anything, without becoming an object, without becoming matter, without becoming something. These are various ways of speaking about the unspeakable. But as long as you comprehend the sense of what we're sharing, the sense of what we're exploring.
Yes. Okay. I mean, yes. Okay. Now I've got it. Now let me go back to if you don't mind, let me go back to the emotion coming up. Okay. A particular emotion comes up, and I can see that is just an experience in awareness. I can see that it is, by its very nature, neutral. It doesn't mean anything, and yet it still causes suffering. So I'm still fighting as a separate self here. I mean, I'm still trying to protect myself.
Yes, you see, that's
okay.
What you are overlooking is that whenever there is an emotion, already you have separated yourself. Already you are in the belief that there is a separate consciousness that would be better off if things were better in the world, or if my partner was a better partner, or if I got that better job, or if or if I get enlightened, or if I get win the lottery. So as soon as there is suffering, when you say the word suffering or contraction, you're referring to, you've taken that step, so to speak, outside of yourself into the me, which means the sense of lack, the sense of limitation, the sense of incompleteness.
Right.
And then from that place of separation or suffering or unhappiness, you are saying, oh, well, I recognized that it's all consciousness and that this is a neutral sensation. No, it's not a freaking neutral sensation. You're in the midst of you're in the midst of the unhappiness. You cannot speak from both sides of your mouth.
Both sides of the mouth, yes.
You cannot speak from both sides of the mouth to say, oh, yeah, it's a neutral situation and I'm suffering. What? You're neutral. Why are you suffering if it's neutral? So either it's neutral and you're not suffering, or you're suffering and it's not neutral. Now, if you're suffering, it's obviously not neutral. No matter how hard you try to sell me the story that it's neutral, it's not neutral. But you need to comprehend what is the process of the suffering. And the process of the suffering is that at this moment, at that moment, you meaning presence, meaning there's only one you, there's only one I, that you, which is this transparent, aware presence, has somehow is now opting to be this sense of limitation that's lacking, that's missing, that's hoping that things will get better in the future, that the world will become better tomorrow, etc. In other words, you stepped into ignorance of your true nature. And once you step into the ignorance of your true nature, the only way for you to, quote unquote, survive as a separate self is to deal with the multiplicity of forms which you now have created. You, the only you is consciousness. You stepped out of yourself. You've created yourself as a separate self, and you've created others and the world and the universes. Because now you have to find your happiness, and good luck, by the way, you find your happiness in the realm of multiplicity, in the realm of world and mind, in the realm of societies and people and family and culture and governments, and good luck.
Yes. So you've used the word opt, okay?
Yes.
It doesn't look like I had that option. I'm lying in bed at 3 a.m. and my neighbor's dog is barking, woken me up, okay? I feel angry, okay?
Why you feel angry?
I don't know why I do.
You're awake, you are irritated, yes, because you're irritated. And part of this irritation is both the fact that the body was resting and, but it's also, darn, why is this happening to me? Why
exactly,
is
yes.
And that's at that moment, you are not utilizing this opportunity because this is an opportunity that's happening to you. It's not by coincidence that the dog barks at 2 o'clock in the morning for you, because the dog barking is not out of the dog's will. The dog isn't sitting willing, saying, oh, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to wake up George now. That's not what's happening. But yet the dog is barking at 2 o'clock in the morning. So there is a larger order, a larger scheme in the dream that is making that dog barking at 2 o'clock in the morning a real neighbor and waking you up. It's not waking me up because I'm 3,000 miles away. It's waking you up. So you say, well, oh, darn, what an unfortunate, crazy, wild thing. It's not. It is not. This is a gift from God. At least I'm only saying that to you. To you, George. I'm not saying it. I'm not going out in the streets of Calcutta and saying, hey, your neighbor's dog barking is a gift from God. I'm only speaking that to you. Why? Because you are already engaged on the journey of awakening. And once you're engaged on the journey of awakening, you are capable of using these irritations as opportunities for you to explore. So yes, the body awakens. There is a little, quote unquote, irritation at the body level. But, body is very adaptive. The body is very, very adaptive. But it's the me. It's that is resisting, saying, oh, darn, it's disturbed my sleep. Who's sleep? Who's sleep? My sleep. Who's sleep? Me, George. George, what's George? Something you're experiencing, something you're imagining, something you're perceiving, what you imagine yourself to be. So I lost track a little bit of where we were here.
No, that's fine. So no, you're not losing track. You're doing perfectly. So I hear you. And so the dog is barking in the middle of the night. Ah, damn neighbor, why doesn't he, why did he quiet his dog? I get all upset. And the question that I was sort of asking you, which I think you've now answered. So when that happens, I get upset, whatever, and it doesn't look like I'm opting. It looks like it's just what's happening. So how do I get out of this? What do I do? And I think what you're saying to me, what I'm hearing, is to realize that this is an opportunity. The dog barking in the middle of the night is an opportunity for me to see my angst and my anger at the neighbor as my being a separate self, and that I can use this circumstance as a learning tool, a teaching tool, a way to wake me up, to make me aware that I'm aware. I think that's what you're saying.
Yes, I am saying that, but just as a little footnote, I'm not excluding the possibility of, if things don't work out in the long run, maybe you leave your house, you move somewhere else. I don't know. I'm not excluding dealing as well, from a practical point of view, whichever way you can, with the situation. I'm not saying, okay, well, now you shouldn't talk to your neighbor at all about that. I'm not saying that. Okay.
I fully understand. Yes, yeah. I got it. Yes, I fully understand.
Yes. And I am not also prescribing any particular way of working with it. I'm just saying that there is more to it than just this darn annoying dog in your case, because you have the option of using this opportunity. Francis often speaks about that we are given so many, we have so many opportunities, small opportunities in our life, little irritations, and that we should take advantage of these opportunities. It's by working with the small irritations. You cannot work with the big irritation. Your partner cheats on you, robs your company. But you can work with the little things to bring more and more the living aspect of consciousness. Not just the understanding I am consciousness, which we often talk about, but also the living aspect of it. So that, maybe that's a little irritated, okay, but not. And in time, you will find that there will be lesser and lesser things that are irritating you. And your irritation is, while before it used to be spin you around, spin, you will find that it's just not such a big deal.
Hey, Magdi.
Hey, Bill.
Didn't you have an experience with a barking dog at the Zen Center years ago?
Yes.
Is that relevant here?
I talked to you about that. Yes, I must have talked to you about that. That's it. That's what that was. Joshua's dog, Bill. That was
Well,
Joshua's dog.
same dog, different day.
That was God appearing as a dog or as a dog bark.
Okay.
When
Let me just conclude our conversation by saying, thank you, Magdi. I get it. Thank you.
Okay, George.
So, since I introduced the subject of different perspectives, and we're speaking of one consciousness, you guys see this. I see you. There's different, we're not all seeing the same thing, correct?
Correct.
Does that in any way contradict the idea of one consciousness?
On the surface, it may, but we can take a closer look to see, because of, when we are living for most of our life under the belief of a separate self, of a separate consciousness, our first impression may require a closer look. So let's take the example of let's look at thoughts. Our thoughts within this one mind, within this one consciousness, there are many thoughts that arise. For example, the thought that you had 10 minutes ago, the thought that you had 2 hours ago, these thoughts, they were perceived by you, which is the same you that is right now perceiving this perception. Would you agree? So, and yet, would you agree that you don't remember any of those thoughts or the majority of those thoughts that you had an hour ago, a week ago, or whatever? That applies as well to whatever perceptions you had, not just the thoughts. If you're looking at the, last week you went up to a certain mountain and you had so many perceptions, and this morning you had so many perceptions, and the perception you have now, although it's the same consciousness that perceived all these perceptions, you don't recall them. Yes. Now, which basically points that consciousness across time, it's the same consciousness across time, but although there are many numerous experiences across time, it's the same consciousness, although we don't remember these experiences, and yet we did experience them. It was the same consciousness. Now, if you're on board with that it's one consciousness across time, the challenge now is to apply that one consciousness across space. So right now, there is this perception here, and in Wyoming, there is that perception. This perception has this form and shape and color. That perception has that form, shape, and color. And across space, is it the same consciousness? It's different mind, different sensations, different perceptions. Is it a different awareness, different consciousness? Now, it's a jump, and I cannot, I can only allude to consciousness across the same consciousness across time, like Francis says, be open to the possibility that, okay, it also applies across space. Now, just want to add on to that. In my experience, in this moment, there is this perception. And the perception is very particular, and it's actually changing from moment to moment. If I turn my head to the right, it's a different perception. If I look down, it's a different perception. That's my experience. But my experience is also that of awareness, presence. So I have like, it sounds dualistic, but because that's the way I'm speaking it, it's as if there are two aspects to my experience. There is that which I'm perceiving, which is constantly changing. And there is also, I have a sense of the changeless, of that which is not changing, which has no shape, no color. And it's not dualistic, but it may sound dualistic. So in my experience, there is that which is changing, which actually appears and disappears. And there is that which does not appear and disappear. In your experience, there is, I'm now assuming that there is the same thing, that there is that which appears and disappears, and there is that which doesn't appear and disappear. And my sense is that both in my experience and your experience, that which appears and disappears is constantly changing. And it is my sense that also in my experience and your experience, that which is not appearing and disappearing is the same. So what I'm saying is that I have a sense that both my experience and your experience are not different, in that we're both experiencing change, and we're both experiencing changeless, the changeless. And what I hear you saying is that my experience of change, and given or what I'm hearing your question is, Magdi, your experience of change is this, and me, Bill, my experience of change is that. Given that your experience of change is this, and my experience of change is that, on what basis are you stating that consciousness is the same, that the changeless is the same? Now, I'm going to make the following preposition, Bill. The following preposition. That
I'm calling the two forms of change. I'm calling the phenomenal consciousness. That's the problem.
Yes, you are calling the phenomenal consciousness. Yes, and I know that's not what you mean, but that's in a way what I heard you say. But also, you know, my change, Magdi's realm of change, and Bill's realm of change, they're freaking the same, Bill. There's the same dancing molecules, let's say, or dancing electromagnetic field. It's that one electromagnetic field that somehow, at the mind level, I say, oh, wait a minute, I'm perceiving blue. Hello, Bill, what are you perceiving? Oh, I'm perceiving red. Oh, I'm not perceiving red, I'm perceiving blue. But you know what? The red is gone and the blue is gone. There is no blue there, Bill. It's gone. It's just magnetic field dancing. Where is your perception? That which you say is changing, that you say changing. What is it? What is it that changed? The thought changed? What is the thought right now? If you go to a thought right now, where do you go? It's gone. As you go into it, it's gone. Even the perception, as you go to the perception, it's gone. The only way for you to make that perception not go is to assume that it's not going. That you're assuming there is an experience here that is changing, but at the same time it's not changing. My experience is I'm perceiving the wall, and Magdi, your experience is you're perceiving the rug. So I have to fix that which is changing and say it's a wall, WLL, and I have to fix you have to fix your changing experience and say it's a rug. Okay, and then we have two quotes unquote fixed experiences. One is called the wall and one is called the rug. And of course, the rug is not the wall and the wall is not the rug. And therefore, they're different. But what the mind is doing, Bill, is that it's fixing the unfixable. It's how do you say? It's giving the impression to that which is impermanent, sort of a permanence, a temporary permanence. And we do that in the waking state all the time. In the dream state, we don't do that because, I don't know, it's more fluid. But in the waking state, we do that. We fix the impermanent without noticing it. And this is why it appears that it's fixed and it's moving. So consciousness, yes, is fixed, from the phenomenal realm, it appears that, yes, it is fixed, meaning it's consciousness, but it's also moving, it's also changing.
You're saying, are you saying that you go to the rug and you say, okay, there's the rug, fixed. And then I come back and look at you in the screen. And now what I'm overlooking is the fact that there's no rug now.
Yes, there's no rug. There's no rug. Even when you looked at the rug, there was no rug.
That went over my head.
When you look at the rug, Bill, when you look at the rug, do you experience a rug? You've got to step out from your experience for a second to go to rug. The brain has to get together. I know it's very fast. The mega computer, it puts together a rug. Rug it's faster than lightning. I know it's very tricky to see how, how can you see through something that's faster than lightning? You can see through that which is faster than lightning because you are that into which the lightning appears. So therefore, it cannot be faster than you. It appears within you. The lightning appears within you. You perceive the freaking lightning. And I know lightning is traveling, no one knows what speed of the light. I don't know much about lightning, but it's pretty impressive if you put the numbers together. But yet, that whole freaking lightning with all its power, it's appearing to you as just a perception. So yes, I know it's a big jump I'm making, that even when you're perceiving the rug, there is no rug. But there is faster than lightning download of a rug. But the key thing, because your question was really, was sort of a different question, was about consciousness across space. So consciousness across space, we cannot prove, we cannot prove anything about consciousness because consciousness is absolute. There isn't, we cannot step out of consciousness and have an experiment about consciousness and then prove that, okay, hey, listen, Bill or Magdi, here it is. I just proved, I just took consciousness, I divided it in 4 pieces. I did these experiments, I varied this, varied that, and here is the proof. We cannot do that with consciousness because there is nothing, you cannot step out of consciousness. It's absolute reality. But because we are consciousness, because I is consciousness, consciousness is manifesting as this, we can have this conversation within consciousness about consciousness, but it doesn't follow just a scientific experimental path, but experientially we know here in my experience, I know here in my experience that my experience is made out of perceptions and sensations that are constantly changing. And it's also made out of that which doesn't change. And I know somehow I have a certitude within me that you are having a similar experience of things changing, and that which is changeless. And my strong feeling is that that which is changeless in me, that I know is changeless in me, in a way of speaking, that which is changeless, that is perceiving, that is real, and that which is changeless, that, in your experience, is the same. But I cannot prove it to you.
This seeming dichotomy of the changeless and the changing. I wanted to run this observation by you, particularly in regard to, as George had brought up, about irritation or emotion. And the experience seems to be right now that there is always this undisturbed peace that either permeates or is the foundation of irritation or sensation. Like for me, there's not a particular feeling of peace in the body at the moment. It's not vexation, but maybe it was too much coffee or something. So there's that sensation of something less than ecstasy, we'll call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is this access or this knowing that it is appearing in stillness, in emptiness. Is that what we're referring to?
Yes, except a certain sensation can arise. It arises within awareness, within the stillness awareness, within the transparency of awareness, within the formlessness of awareness. In other words,
you've gotten quiet.
Oh,
the volume.
Oh, okay. Sometimes I have a problem with the. Let me check that. Okay, is that better? Is
Yes.
that better? Okay.
Thank you.
So, yes. So the awareness is always there. It's reality. It's reality of our experiences. I mean, nothing. We don't experience anything without awareness. It's all awareness. So it's always there. Now, yes. So you experience a certain sensation. Maybe it could be in the body. You said something about coffee, so it might be all this buzzing within the body, whatever, or the brain, and so that is maybe one could say a coloring of awareness, or like that's something that we're perceiving, we're experiencing. But when it comes to irritation, for irritation, it's not just awareness, knowing itself, experiencing the body buzzing because of coffee, or the body trembling because the wind is there, or the body being energized because we just we were driving home and we walked by a rally where people were burning down, or whatever, all that, it's irritation is when we've personalized consciousness. So this awareness, which is always there, borderless presence, available. Right now, we've reduced it to this impression that something is bothering me. Something is bugging me, and this me is this reduction of consciousness. I mean, it's a way of speaking, because consciousness, you cannot reduce consciousness. I mean, it's just it's mind impression. It's an impression that there is something at stake for somebody, and she or he or this is pissing me off. Okay, it shouldn't be this way. So there's a resistance, and we need to change it. This needs to change it. And when we change it, then I'll be happy. Then consciousness will return to its true state if we just get rid of these freaking, neighbors, whatever you say. So it's a little difference there, which is an important difference, Bill, between experiencing a difficult situation, a difficult situation at the body, at the health maybe, or with in the relationship, and experiencing irritation.
But it's nonetheless, so there is that arising of self. This should not be happening. But
this should not be happening to me.
Not happening to me. And then either George or Bill suddenly kind of has a remembrance,
yes,
and says, well, wait a second, what's going on? I have this sense of self arising, the sense of resistance and struggle and all that. Isn't that recognition, that remembrance, that moment, isn't that arising in a awareness?
In
a flowering of awareness?
No, it is not arising in the flowering of awareness. It is awareness itself pulling, bringing you back, saying, listen, I am not limited, man. It's awareness itself saying, look, Bill, don't play this. Here I am. I'm cool. Everything is well. This neighbor will leave, or this irritation with the body being so, it's gonna pass. It's not something that's arising in awareness. Awareness itself sort of saying, hello. And that's what's so beautiful, because the more we recognize awareness saying hello, because awareness is so sweet, when it says hello, it's saying, yeah, there's no problem out there. And you go, yeah, I got you. And the more we realize, we sort of get it, that awareness is saying there's no problem out there, the more we realize that, yeah, in fact, there is no problem out there. And our old tendency of perceiving a problem out there and something at stake here, that tendency, if it's not nourished, it slows down. And in time, it's like who wants a, there is no, you're no longer riding this bus. You're no longer getting on that train. You're no longer skiing these slopes. I know you're skiing.
Right.
Right. So the irritation becomes less and less frequent, and less, it's a visitor that doesn't stay for so long, They just come, they deliver a little package, you take the package, you put it in the attic, and they leave, it doesn't visit you. The irritation doesn't visit you to stay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great to see you, Bill.
Good to see you.
Hopefully we'll see each other after this phase, yes? Hey, Holger.
Hi, Magdi. A part of the irritation is maybe also this idea that I could do something about it. If there is no idea that I can do something about it, maybe then it drops away as an irritation.
Yes, I mean, the irritation and the, it is that sense of that there is something at stake, something that shouldn't be the way it is for me. obviously this me thing and how things should be for me. We have all this ideas and notions and feelings about the world, about our partner, about and that there is something we can do about it. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, I know that in my experience, sometimes I felt irritations where I knew that I couldn't do anything about it, and that sort of made things even more irritable, you know. So I hated the others even more. I blamed them even more. But I see what you mean. That you know, yes, yeah. Most often we believe there is a way, something we can do about it, but the more we get our hands into the mud, the more our hands are muddy. So the solution to the irritation, there is a direct solution to the irritation, is to see through it, to see its illusion, the illusion of the me that's irritated, and all these thoughts and sensations that seem to define how things should be, and this me that's going to be better, you know, via in this realm, to see through the whole thing, you know. In a flash you could see through it, because we are consciousness, and as consciousness we are all seeing. We have the capacity to see the dream, to see the illusion of the me and the you and the her, and what she did, and how she should be and how he should be, and my boss, and you know, in the world, the politicians, and to see. We have the capacity to directly see through all of that, and that's extraordinary. You know, there are these games where you sort of, it's like a tablet, and you write all sorts of things on it or something like that, and then you move it and it erases everything. I don't know what's the name of that, but it's a cool thing, you know. You see, there'll be all these designs, and then you could just go like this, and the whole thing sort of erases.
A big thing for me is when I feel irritated. It's not actually the moment itself, but it's just echoes from the past, how things should be, or memories or something. And if this is gone, then even the same situation, there is nothing anymore that can irritate then, even if it's not my preference maybe, but it doesn't go into this me idea.
You know, the past is absolutely gone, and we create the past as a so-called past, but we never experience the past. We just create the past in our mind as something so awful or something so great, or a mixture of all of that, and we create it in presence. So the past is, and often, if not always, in the past there is the me. You know, we sort of, we also create the me, my story, my life, and so on. My family, it's and it seems so real because we've done it for so long. So now the sense of my life as a continuity in time is well established in our feeling state. So we feel that, oh yeah, of course I have a past, and of course I live in time. So it takes like a sort of a certain turnaround or turnabout to see that in fact No, it's not your experience. You don't experience the past. You never experience the past. That your experience is that of awareness or presence, and that the past is a thought, it's memory, it's a current thought about, an image that appears to you.
What's the difference between past and familiarity?
And familiarity.
Yes, maybe I mixed them up or something.
In familiarity, there is just the organism operating. Like, I know when I go out to take the keys of my car, I don't go into my neighbor's car with my keys to drive their car. So at the organism level, at the level of body mind, like how your way to your house, you recognize your house. So there is at the body mind sort of a recognition, but there isn't a me. There isn't a story. There isn't my story. Of course, there can be my story, but that's not familiarity. That would be my story about my house, my life, my car, my future, my past, my mother, my father, my inheritance, whatever, So, when I see you, I recognize Holger, but that's at the body mind level, at the level of which is in a way a healthy functioning of the but it's not just limited to the humans. I mean, the animals too, they and yeah, so that's I would say the main difference between familiarity and the past is that familiarity is a functioning of the consciousness via the body mind always in the eternity of presence. It's not, and even the past, what we imagine to the past to be, there is no past. It's always the eternity of presence has taken on the form of a thought, and within the thought there is a script saying this is the past. But the fact that there is a script that appears to you, this is the past, doesn't mean that now you're having a past experience, because you never have a past experience. None of us has ever had a past experience. We had experiences where the script, the content of the experience said, oh, this is a past experience you're having. And so we, as a parrot, we say, oh, I'm having a past experience. Because we are not recognizing that, in fact, no, we never have a past experience. We are the eternity of consciousness, and consciousness doesn't exist in time.
So then what about this peace and trust that, like George earlier said, like he needs to defend his me, he needs to protect, or what about this trust? And it's there just automatically. I mean, when there is this peace, then there is this peace and trust is the same, one and the same.
I want to make sure I heard you right. When you say, you said distrust, D-I-S?
No, this trust. I mean, trust.
Trust. Oh, okay. What about trust? Yes. What about trust?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, it's a good idea to trust. There has to be basis for the trust. So to trust in a direction where there is basis for the trust. Like, for example, I trust a great master musician to guide me, or to guide in music. In music, so I trust when you go to the beach, there's those guards. You know what you call those swimming guards? The swimming guards. I trust the swimming guard because I know that this swimming guard is an accomplished swimmer. You see, so lifeguard. Thank you, lifeguard. I trust the lifeguard because he's an accomplished swimmer. So the trust has to be has some ground for it. You see, and in terms of non-duality, we trust the peace and the happiness. We trust what resonates, within us, and what somehow it leads us in a direction of more and more peace and more happiness and more understanding. So it's not like blind trust, It's a trust that has some basis for it.
So then trust is more our natural state, and the distrust is just a separate me that believes that it's in control.
No, it's intelligent to also distrust. If I see somebody who comes and applies for a life, you said lifeguard? Lifeguard? Was that the word? The swimming. So if somebody comes in,
lifeguard, yes,
and applies for a lifeguard, and they want a lifeguard position, and they have one leg, the other leg is okay. Maybe I'm biased. Maybe I don't know so much about swimming, but I would have a little distrust. So there can be distrust doesn't necessarily mean ignorance or sense of separation. There is a basis for this distrust too. So let's say that the trust has to be earned a little bit. You have to earn the trust. To distrust. I mean, when it comes to the teaching, the non-dual teaching, it's a good idea to distrust, because you want to make sure. You don't want to trust in the wrong direction. You see, you want to have the right basis. So your trust has to be earned. So, and you are ultimately the judge. You are the ultimate the decision maker about the trust or not to trust. And so I would say that if something resonates within you as true over and over, and it sort of takes you closer to God, closer to happiness, closer to peace, I would trust that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, Magdi. John.
John. Hello, John.
Hi. I had typed in a question.
Yes,
but,
I just see it now. Yeah, I just opened the chat box. Thank you, Tara. Yeah, Etch a Sketch. That's it. I like those ones. I don't know if they still sell them, but they're nice. Okay. Yes, John.
Yeah. So my question was just seems that what I've gotten about this the past is that it's this thing about experience. I would hear, I think Rupert said, I'm sure everybody said it, but I would hear, experience is the test of reality. And so in this thing about past and now that I was writing there is the idea of the past, or the sense of a past, or whatever it would be, is more due to thought. It's not. I guess the bigger thing is to say that it's experience is now. So it can't be any other experience but now. And so if one is thinking about the past, it's now, it's experienced now, but it's thought. So it's not reality in that sense. So, and the reason why I bring this up, because lately I've been sort of looking at, I guess I'll call them feelings or emotions, or sensations in the body, and then thought as well. Thought comes up just constantly, but a lot of the thought will continue to promote. It seems like thought promotes more and more emotions, and I see that thought just arises, and it's almost a pattern that's there, that just happens, probably because it's been repeated so often as well. But more importantly, is it just that it does happen, and that thought continues to promote, say I have negative feelings, or even if I have pleasurable feelings, it can be in some sense promoted by the thought, and that thought meaning that there's a story there, and it's creating stuff. But that story is also in my experience, my being consciousness, being presence, and I more and more see that I think this thing of exploring my experience, okay, or one could say my true nature. I see that I am the I am, and the rest is you could say, well, I hear people say the flow. I'm not good with all the terminology and everything, but I'll just say it this way: is the flow, and so,
but
and it's not.
There is flow and flow, John. There is the flow of like this conversation, a flow, and thoughts appearing. But then there are thoughts that appear that reference me as John,
Right.
me as and you as Magdi, and that there is flow and flow. So that's also a flow, but that's a flow of vampires, and they're gonna suck your blood. So it's not just a flow of doves flying by, there is a flow and flow. And since we are we're talking about peace and happiness, which is our true nature. So the illusion, the reference of thought to me as John and you as Magdi, that flaw has within it ignorance.
Yes.
So there is illusion and ignorance. Illusion would be the flow of a bunch of doves or ducks, passing through. That's the illusion. And the ignorance is the flow of whatever is flowing that's referencing me. How am I doing? What's going to happen to me? What is happening to me? You need to distinguish between them. The issue is not thought. The issue is is thought referencing
Yes.
consciousness as John.
Yes, it refers to me, to a John.
Yes.
Yes. And once it does that, I have noticed that I've noticed that because I've noticed it within the body, because of your pointings, the body is tense or gets tension, and so it appears like and there's a sense in the body that there's actual a contraction into a me, you know, and
We're unhappy.
but
That's the experience of unhappiness, you know.
yeah. No, I'm hearing this.
You know,
I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is one of the, I think one of the things about, I mean, I guess Francis and Rupert does this. I guess you've done it too in your retreats. I have not gone, but you know, the idea of, I guess they call it yoga sometimes, is to begin to see this within the body, begin to see these things for what they are or they are not. And but it's all what I begin to see is, yes, there is a me, and then there's also a story, that there's always more thought, more story that comes in, which references a me again, always.
As soon as you start with the belief that I is a male or a female, that I is a person, then from then on, all what unfolds in the thoughts, in the perceptions, in experience, and in life has that me in it. It has that reference.
Yes.
So it's a contamination. Once the contamination is on, then it's downstream, you know, from the initial, what you refer to, the Christian, I say, the original sin, you know.
Yeah. No, well, I notice more and more of that. I think because of this being able to see, being able to, you can say there's a distance, but there's really no distance. But you know, there really is no distance. But it's being able to see that whatever has been always present for me, what is, it always has been, is, no matter what. I'm going to say moves through it. But actually is, you know, this, it gets a little bit tricky with the conceptualization a lot, because then you say consciousness, this is an apparent, these things are apparent because consciousness knows itself, and that's it, you know. So it can get a little bit tricky in the sense of thinking conceptual. However, all I'm pointing out is, well, let's go to the dog experience, the barking. I like that dog barking experience, you know, because that's really it. It's something is bothering me again, something is disturbing. Now, it wouldn't be, I mean, most of us would say that, you know, I'd like to get my sleep. I'd like to get so many out, you know, and this is disturbing me. And so that there's an irritation, or there might even be anger because it's been happening and I haven't been saying anything, and I've been afraid to say something to the person, you know, but, you know, now I'm angry, you know, now I'm blaming them, you know, and so forth and so on. So the me is on board, and more story is going on. But, you know, in that sense, okay, when I see that this is all, I mean, you could say this is all, I mean, I don't sit there and go, this is all a modulation of myself, of I. Okay, I don't sit there and do that. You know, it doesn't matter. Okay, because but what I can do is, what does seem to happen is that if I don't add the me, if I don't add the stories, then the body is irritated. Okay. But I also don't have to add on to it. I think when you talk about adding on all the time,
right,
that also seems to be very important. Yes. The add-ons are just killers.
Right. You know, whatever you experience as presence,
yes,
it loses, you know, the storyline to it.
Yeah.
It's just you're experiencing maybe some contraction in your chest or your face or your heart beating. But when you're experiencing it as presence, there isn't something outside of that is saying, okay, that's, you know, that's good, that's bad. It's not, there isn't a judgment.
Right.
There isn't judgment.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, then, and now saying that, okay, again, not to, it's for instance, you know, I mean, most people say I would like, well, you may or may not say I'd like to do something about the dog barking. So maybe I could talk with the guy. Absolutely. Maybe I could even figure out maybe a way I could speak to him that where I'm not blaming him and so forth and so on. You know, you could try to do something like that as well.
Absolutely. Because, you know, when we create a separate me, and then there is the separate other,
yeah,
then the relationship is like okay, I would like to tell him, hey, listen, your dog, is waking me up at 2 o'clock in the morning, but what is he going to think about me? So now, wait a minute. So, okay. So wait a minute. So there is this dance. It's all illusion, of course, but this dance of the me. And so, oh my God, I'm not going to say anything. He's not going to like it. So now it's been a week. Now I haven't closed my eye, but I'm afraid that he's going to think of me. So
yeah. Or if I go ahead, if I ask him and he says, go to hell, am I going to have to move? Okay. And so those are all stories.
We don't know. Right. We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, because we have rehearsed so many times the me and the him, me and her.
Yes.
For our entire life, you will find that even when you are not interested in maintaining this me and him, when you want to just be as presence and address the situation, it's a simple situation. The neighbor's dog, the neighbor is not the dog. I don't know his relationship. I don't know the neighbor's relationship with that dog. What do I care? The neighbor's dog is barking at 2 o'clock in the morning every night. So it's a very simple situation. So I'm gonna go knock on the door of the neighbor and talk to him about that. It seems to be very simple, but because we have rehearsed me, what he's going to think of me, what he's going to feel about me in so many different situations in our life, you will find that it's as if you are going against the current,
Right.
You know what I mean? But at some time we have to sort of face that going against the current, because we have an understanding. The understanding is that unhappiness is the sense of separation, believing that he is a he and I'm a me, and maintaining this he and me relationship, the good and bad relationship, is not God's path. It's not God's way. It's not the path of wisdom. It's not the path of truth. It's not the path of love. So this is why sometimes we say we have to live our understanding. And so Francis uses the term of using these opportunities, not like the problem, use them as opportunities, yoga opportunities to live according to your understanding, to just sort of go knock on the door. There are feelings maybe arising from the past. Okay, so there are impressions, there are sensations arising. Okay, maybe even a thought may arise, oh, I hope he's not going to get too upset. Okay, it's a thought arising. So we remain with presence, because sometimes the thought arising, what is he going to think of me? Is he going to get upset, or is she going to get upset? Then when that thought becomes very important, then we'll just turn around and run back home. You know what I'm saying? Because, right. So there is acting responsibly, like responding to the situation without the past, without the future, and also relying on your understanding that consciousness is one.
I think, like, for me, like, I'm going to keep the dog thing going, because say I go, or even the experience of going over and knocking on the door, because still, I guess I'm trying to relate it to, presence, and what is, and experience. I'm kind of using them synonymously, and there's only the one, so there is not the division. I mean, there's no division in that, but so what seems to happen is that spontaneously I might go and ask, or I might do something, but also spontaneously, or maybe, I guess, thought could come up to you. I could see, like, oh, it looks like this guy and his wife are having an argument. Might not be the best time. So I turn around and go back, So those things are in there.
Yeah.
You know, those things. So I don't just go up blindly and go, oh, let me just test this. My experience has been in the past that this happens, that happened, and it's probably not true, and so forth and so on. So there's some kind of thinking that works on that practical level, I suppose. But it seems like if I'm not afraid of my experience, it seems like, because even the fear is being experienced, not who I am. Except in the totality of things, but it's you know, I think that for me seems to have me move in a direction without all of the story making.
Yes.
Is that it doesn't seem to stick. You know, these feelings and sensations and even thoughts don't seem to stick. So I can do things more spontaneous, and that might be turning around and say, I'll come back in another day or something.
Yes.
Does that make any sense?
Yes, it makes sense. You know, we don't know how the situation will unfold, what we will say, what they will say, what the situation will be. But we're following the direction without the situation, with addressing the situation without adding to it, you know, the story, the me and him story. And also, yes, you know, there's also the aspect of when you mentioned fear, in that we also have an understanding about fear, that fear is something that requires our participation, that in fact fear is just a sensation, it's a bodily sensation with the me story. As we maintain the me story, then we're maintaining the fear. But so when there is the understanding about fear as being a certain thought about me and him, or me and her, and of course the sensations within the body, to see all of that as also a neutral unfolding, a neutral phenomena.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right, John.
Thank you, Magdi.
Okay. Yes. Okay. 2:00. Okay. Well, very lovely to be with you all. Thank you. Lovely to see you, Holger and George. Hello, George, and Linda. Hello, Linda. Bill. Great to see you, Bill. Zoe. Hello, Zoe. Anna. Hello, Anna. Holly. And Kelly. Hello, Kelly. Hola, Emmanuel.
Thank you.
And John. Oh, Kelly, you are in the winter country over there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes. Where are you?
Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. Oh, yes. Okay. Stay warm. Yeah, I see that you're well dressed. Very, very nice hats there, you know. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Magdi.
Yes.
Thank you.